what you thought you knew from the shed of dreams, the Leake in review.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Thanks for all the likes, the loves, the subscribers, the people who are reaching out, your comments, your thoughts on the program, and some guests you're looking to see. It's definitely appreciated. And if you haven't already done so, click subscribe, whatever platform you're listening to this program on. Hit subscribe. Follow me at The Leake on the various socials, and lots of videos on YouTube if you want to go check out that stuff as well. Today, we talk comedy, a lot of comedy. I don't know if many people know this, but I worked in the comedy world for about 6 months, it seems. It wasn't very long. It was tough. There was a lot going on at the time. And I gained a crazy appreciation as to how the comedy circuit works. That said, I don't understand how it works because it's kind of all over the place in a lot of cases. Anyhow, that was years ago. Today, we're going to sit down with two guys who are doing a very good job in the comedy world. In fact, revolutionizing how we can approach comedy. And that is with the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. This will be now its 5th year of the fest, 6th, I guess, if you're counting first year. Yeah, this will be the 6th. A festival that mainly tours across Canada, but there is one date in Spokane, Washington. We're going to sit down with Mike and Donovan from the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, talk to them about all the oddness, the intricacies, the things that go on in putting on one of these festivals, because they are anticipating on having 250,000 people attend this fest this year alone. We sit down with Mike and Donovan with the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival on this episode of the Leake in Review in just a bit.
Where there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is the Leake in Review on tour.
On Tour brought to you by the Pecan Agency, connecting fans with bands and comics worldwide. So because we're talking to the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival gang, why don't we list off their dates? Edmonton, Alberta is when it all kicks off, July 17 through 19. Matt Rife will be there. He'll also be that same weekend in Winnipeg, as the Comedy Festival will be running simultaneously at Assiniboine Park. August 6 to 9, you can catch the fest in Halifax, Nova Scotia. August 28th through 30th, Calgary, Vancouver, and Spokane, Washington. That's your weekend. They're sharing comics. Bill Burr playing both Spokane and in Vancouver. And then Mississauga, new to the tour this year, September 11 through 13, John Mulaney, Adam Ray as Dr. Phil Live, which is hilarious. Matt Matthews will be there, along with Nick Kroll and just a whole host of others. So lots of comedy to talk about today on this program.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Congratulations, the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival has announced not only more dates, but kind of announced your entire lineup, maybe with a few guest appearances and stuff like that to go. But I was looking at your overall, which the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival started in Edmonton in 2021 and has quickly, in only a few years, had like 300 and something thousand people attend your fest. Is this only because COVID happened that the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival is happening?
Oh,
Donovan and Mike, by the way.
This is right up Mike's alley here. Is it because of COVID that the Great Outdoors Comedy
finally, something good from COVID.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually supposed to be launched April 1st, 2020. But the joke was on us because the world was shut down at the time. So it was a smaller version at a small amphitheater in Edmonton. But what COVID did, it gave us a chance to really develop this product. And when we're like getting the nuts and bolts of it together, we wanted to be the first event producers in Canada back after COVID. So we created this socially distanced concept. We bought 1,400 tables from Costco. We had them 6 feet apart from each other.
Free delivery, I hope, with those tables.
Yeah, and no return policy. It's the only time in Costco's history that they made Mike sign a waiver saying you will not return these tables.
Yeah, because they're like, what the hell are we going to do with this?
1,400 tables.
Yeah, 1,400 tables. And what we accidentally did, and it was pointed out by Nikki Glazer and David Spade, our first headliners, that you created the world's largest stand-up comedy club. And then they followed it up with the statement that was so profound that we listened. It was, you should tour this thing. So I had 1,400 tables on Kijiji ready to sell after the first festival because we thought the world was going to be back to normal, which it eventually did. But the intimacy of having people sit at these tables and having food and drink and merch brought to that table, because we put barcodes on every table where people can scan it, put their drink order in, and have it delivered with ease and without going up and wasting 20 minutes in a lineup.
You get to sit in your own filth and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were ahead of the curve on so many things when it comes down to that, because one, you created a festival where people just wanted to go out and just do anything because there was nothing going on. Yeah. But because of COVID, I think you had an easier time, I'm guessing, to convince comics to go outside and perform. Because as I understand it, comics they're very particular on their venue.
Yeah.
They need a room. Oh, that room! It's too noisy. The ceiling's too high.
The audience was terrible. The comedians will find any excuse.
Or tell good jokes, and it might change things for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, with outdoors, there's so many distractions. So you could have like a noisy car, a train,
a falcon.
People wandering the grounds. And what we were able to do was get people to sit down, shut up, and pay attention. And that's the art of comedy, is like you need to be able to, it's not like a music festival where you could wander out one song, come back in and catch up where the band left off. You need to hear the first joke because there's always a circle back into the last joke, and having people be able to sit and enjoy. We created the intimacy of a comedy club with the vibrancy of a music festival. So it was like comedy Coachella. So when we had Bill Burr do, I think it was year 2 or year 3, he went on his podcast afterwards and he talked about, nothing about this should work. It's, it has everything going against it, the laws of comedy, but for some reason it does, because we were able to look at those little specific details and be able to get people to sit down, be quiet, big sound, big lights, big stage. And it's just the perfect mixture for, intimacy of the wilderness, but the vibrancy of comedy and that
the intimacy of the wilderness. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's not even sit down and shut up and pay attention. It's just like find that focal point and enjoy yourself.
There's 7 locations, Spokane being the only U.S. location part of the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga. Why is Mississauga the last one to be added to this list, considering the population of the GTA?
We're saving the best for last.
Yeah, we want to make sure the product was the best it can be when we come into the center of the universe, the GTA. We want to work out all the bugs, and we think we have at this point, but we're always in beta mode. So we're always looking to improve it and make sure that, the second you end up on the grounds, the show starts.
Mike and Donovan, the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, talking about always improving. You're in beta mode. Learning lesson from year 1 to going into year 2. It's like, well, we won't be doing that one again. Yeah. What were some of those things?
Oh, you've tried a little bit of everything in the first couple of years, right?
Well, I think the biggest learning was, we had everybody come in and sit down and wait for a show for 2 hours, because when you have thousands of people coming in, you have to, entertain them. So our biggest learning was, okay, let's take lessons from Night at the Roxbury. Let's make the outside of the club the inside of the club, and, have people entertain the second they get on site, and then, ramp it up and make it feel like a sporting event and have contests and fun things happening, and then land the plane when the headliners hit the stage, where everyone's just ready for that 2 hours of comedy experience, but they already had 3 hours of crazy good times.
And that's where, Donovan, you're probably shining as the Ranger.
Yeah.
Making sure everything's running on the schedule.
It's hilarious because I kind of created my own job in this situation where Mike wanted to hire me to be just the host, where I'm on stage doing all the housekeeping stuff.
All your regular MC stuff.
Yeah, right. And so I thought, well, that's great, but I'm wearing this fantastic park ranger outfit. I'm going to go and walk the lines just for something to do. So as people line up, I started walking the lines, making jokes, introducing myself, getting pictures taken. So I started creating that vibe in the lineup. And then, if somebody had a worried look on their face, I would run right for them and be like, hey, how's it going? How can I help you? And get them in a positive mode so that when the gates opened, everybody's ready for a good time. And then, of course, I do the regular housekeeping stuff. And then we started adding contests and giveaways. So I'm walking around the audience still, making sure you get that instant feedback. And then at the end of the night, I go stand at the gate again. And I say, how was your night? Thank you so much for coming. Hope you had fun. Hope to see you next year.
So we mentioned in the 5 years, there's been 350,000 attendees. This year alone, you're going for 250,000 attendees across all your properties over these multi-day events. Have you deputized anybody as the ranger to say, look, I need more hands?
Yeah, we do have a couple more rangers now.
Yeah, and we've got applications, Jeff, if you're not doing anything.
If you're
September
looking
11 to 13th.
Bring your own hat.
We're okay. Yeah, right. You got one of those. I'll make sure I'll bring my own in a different flavor.
Yeah, that's all that we asked for.
Was there any challenges in booking the comics because it was an outdoor event? Because they weren't used to it yet.
Yeah.
I think that I know of lots of comics that did some outdoor stuff where it was social distancing during COVID, and they were playing to an audience who was sitting in cars.
Yeah, well, we call that the comedy moat, from where the stage to where the first row of the audience is. That's where comedy dies, right? So, you need to get rid of that and get people as close as possible. And, it's interesting how we've managed to do that at the festival.
Yeah. No, it's funny because, I remember last summer, John Mulaney asked me, why are you guys doing this? Why all this? And, it's, you come down to it. It's like, okay, you look at the arena experience when these comics can sell out, arenas, no problem, but you lose that intimacy that, that there's this disconnection with the crowd. And then all of a sudden you're in the park, but I think that disconnection is alleviated because everyone's like enjoying the beauty of the outdoors. And then, hearing that roar of the laughter go from the front of a park to the back hill. It's, I don't think there's anything like it.
Yeah. Well, when you go to a big sporting event or a venue, like a comedy show in an arena or whatever, it's that filtering in. There's all that stress, everybody's shoulder to shoulder, and then you go sit in a black box. What we try to do is alleviate that problem, alleviate that stress, let everybody know that you're going to get in, let's relax. The common goal is to everybody have a good time. So we try to take that pressure off right from the get-go, so when the show starts, people are pumped and jazzed and ready to laugh. Yeah. So it changes it quite a bit.
Doing 2 shows a day in most cities on most days. I think there's like a 1 show in Halifax on a Thursday and then maybe 2 on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're turning around lots of people on site. So how much time do you give yourselves to get everybody off site, reset, and then bring in the whole next crowd?
Oh, Matt. Yeah.
1 hour.
An hour. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And what about the comics when they say that, you've got a 4 p.m. slot? Or some of them going
outside in the sun.
What are you talking about? And then I got to come back and I got to do 9 p.m.?
I was talking to one of the comedians about the afternoon show, and they were like, oh, God, it's outside and it's the afternoon. It's going to be the worst thing ever. And then after the show, I can't remember who it was. They were like, oh, man, there was so much fun and the audience was great. And it's like, a little afternoon day drunk is... People are up for a good time. Yeah,
because, you talked earlier about, outdoor comedy doesn't work, but then we people double down. They're like, definitely afternoon comedy, outdoors will not work. But people want to go out earlier, it seems, and, they can be in bed by 7 p.m. if they'd like.
Well, yeah, nighttime can be very limiting for a lot of the population. Sure. You've got family, you've got all kinds of other responsibilities. Maybe you're afraid of the night.
Yes, which is my slogan, Afraid of the Night.
Yes. your album.
It's my new jazz album.
Yeah. But they've got there's lots of reasons to maybe not go for some people. So I think it's great because with the comedy, there's not a lot of infrastructure outside of there's a ton of infrastructure for your outdoor festivals, but you're not loading bands on stage and off stage with all their gear.
Well, Fred Armisen, we do.
Yeah,
he brings a massive
drum set.
backline.
Yeah.
But largely, it's a one mic show, and it's easy to turn around. And most of these comics aren't rolling around with their own mic.
Yeah.
You've already got it set up on the stage.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's easier to pull off. I was at the Cellar in New York a little while ago, and I was upstairs having a drink, and then the serving staff cut people off from drinking because they didn't want you to be too bombed when you go down into the cellar for the main show. How do you guys manage that at a festival where you've got 10,000 people? Is that something that is even a flag for you guys? Knowing that there's a lot of people who are coming for comedy, and then there's a bunch of people who are coming to party in the sun and comedy.
Yeah.
People are pretty, you treat people like adults, so they're going to act like adults. So we've never really had any issues. There's always one asshole that, tries to ruin it for you. But, at the end of the day, we see people just come and enjoy themselves, and, they take their time. They're not chugging drinks. They're just enjoying it. They're sipping. They're enjoying the vibes.
Yeah, and if you keep it super positive like we try to, it kind of takes some of that edge. Liquor sometimes can get you kind of in a dark place. But if we keep it super positive, I haven't seen any problems walking the grounds. I've seen some fairly drunk people, but nobody's caused any trouble. There's never been anything.
A lot of these spaces that you're using are still traditional festival spaces. I'm not too sure about the Mississauga spot. It's a unique spot. So you got to bring in a lot of infrastructure for some of these fences or some of these spots. What are some of the things, like infrastructure wise, you're like, really, we need to bring 900 miles of cable, or we need internet to run this thing, and it's going to cost us $8,000 for one guy to hit a switch?
Yeah. Well, there's no amphitheater system across Canada. In Toronto, there's obviously the RBC amphitheater, but outside of that, there isn't anything. So
and the bowl in Vancouver is too small for you guys.
Yeah, a lot of the venues are too small. I think one of the most interesting things that I can remember is in Winnipeg, at the venue, you have to take a polar bear emergency course.
Because you're right at the zoo.
The zoo is there, and they have a polar bear, and they're like, you have to take a course so you know what to do if the polar bear escapes. And I'm like, I think that's a pretty easy one. You just fucking run.
Yeah, you just throw the weakest in its way.
That's right.
And let the mauling begin.
Yeah, that's right. But so that's like one of the weirdest things, I think, in any of the parks that I've had to deal with.
But for us to go into the most beautiful spaces in this country, the trade-off of bringing in all this infrastructure outweighs the beauty of what we're going into. Like to be in Stanley Park and to be in Citadel Hill in Halifax, and now being in Arundel Park in Mississauga. Like they're just breathtaking places.
Yeah, and we want to keep them that way. And if not, leave them the way we found them, try to make them better. I mean, he says that in a park ranger outfit, but it's true. Like we want to make sure that these parks remain beautiful, because that's what we're there to kind of celebrate as well as comedy. Is these
and
beautiful
some
spaces.
of them are actual national parks. They're not just parks that happen to be at the end of your street with a swing set.
That's right. They haven't built
is
a house
national,
yet. Yeah.
So they've got rules and regulations that are a little bit different than the loosey-goosey, Calgary festival. Like they got different rules and regs. What are some of the things like at Citadel or in Stanley Park that they're saying you can't do that here?
Well, Stanley Park's probably the trickiest one, because the Three Nations that once occupied the lands where we put the festival is a burial ground for their ancestors. So we're not allowed to spike anything into the ground. So we have to bring weights to weight everything down, all the tents, all the food trucks, the staging. So it's challenging, but at the same time, we honor.
We have smudging and stuff like that to make sure that it's done properly.
You have the festival. It runs simultaneously there's multiple cities running simultaneously on one weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's Calgary, Edmonton, and Spokane.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Spokane, Vancouver, and Calgary are all on the same weekend, and Edmonton and Winnipeg are on the same weekend.
Which is genius, because you can flip
there's only
comics back and forth.
Yeah, and there's only so many summer weekends in Canada, right? So we've only got a few weeks, so we got to maximize it.
Well, the nice thing about Edmonton in the summer, you get daylight until about 11:30 p.m., right? So you don't even need to bring in lighting.
People out.
Yeah, the comedians they're like, it's midnight.
Right. So the move to go into Spokane, was there some, difficulties in that by taking your Canadian show across the border? Because comics, I know most of your comics are international.
Yeah.
So they're already easy to fly around everywhere, but your infrastructure and your crews and teams are not as international.
Yeah, Spokane's a pretty unique situation where we've partnered up with a great organization in Spokane, and they're really good to help make things run.
Yeah. They own the arena and they own the stadium, and we also have an office in Nashville. So for us to go into Spokane, it was easy for us because the city put up their hand. They're like, we really like what's going on here. We'd like this here. And so we made this joint partnership. We were able to accomplish this. So, and more organizations in the U.S. are putting up their hand. We're trying to work out the bugs first before we, make, international domination with this thing. Let's just keep things rolling in Canada here. Going into the GTA is the next big step for us. But, eventually we'd like to see this in every major center in the world, because laughter has no borders. It's universal. What's funny is funny.
And once you go further south, you give yourself more weekends. Because
That's right. We can go into winter. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you keep going further south, maybe one day we're in Australia, and their summer is in January. So
right, it can just keep on rolling on.
Yeah.
So the festival itself, the smallest being Spokane, is in terms of space and audience thus far. Which of the 7 cities then is your biggest? Is it Edmonton because you started there, or are you kind of held off by kind of the actual location and site?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Is sometimes we are constrained by the size of the venue. Like Calgary,
Calgary's our smallest
it's
location.
the smallest one, but we don't want to move it because that park is so beautiful.
And you know how to work it too. Like you understand, like, this is what we can improve on every year.
Well, and they do a lot of things in Princess Island Park already. And we came in and we were like, we need to change some of these. The way they do things just isn't conducive to a great comedy show. They're used to the folk fest and stuff like that. So we're trying to also change them a little bit to educate them on how to maybe do it a little bit better. But it's such a great venue.
So you're working on changing the idea and the mentality of festivals, and you're also working on the idea and changing the mentality of comics simultaneously. Like you got a fork in the road and you're trying to balance out.
So we're trying to change everything to do something that's fun.
What about local talent in each of these markets? I know a lot of music festivals will have locals apply to be part of festivals. I'm guessing every comic in each one of these cities that might be their home base. If your home base is Hamilton or Halifax and Calgary or whatever, they're probably dying to get on to your set or to get up and do 5 minutes.
And we love it. Yeah. Bring them on.
So, and we incorporate the local talent. What sells the tickets is obviously the biggest names in comedy. But, if you look at once we announce everything, over 50% of our lineup is Canadian or local. So, if it's the brass band that welcomes people and the DJs, the local opener, the host that starts things off. We're a proudly Canadian company. We're a proudly Canadian festival, and making sure that we incorporate that and also give these comedians a stage that they are performing to 10,000 people, because they're not given that opportunity very often. So, hopefully one day one of them develops into the next Martin Short or Jim Carrey.
Just going over a quick list here. Matt Rife is playing Edmonton, Winnipeg, Halifax, and Calgary. Vancouver, did I see that? So Matt Rife is playing in Vancouver as well. Was someone just added to Vancouver today?
Yeah.
Bill Burr?
Bill Burr was. Pete Davidson, Anthony Jeselnik. Yeah.
Not a bad lineup.
Jordan Jensen.
John Mulaney, Hassan Minhaj. He has 2 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, and that's hilarious.
And very educated, very smart guy.
Yeah.
They're playing in Mississauga. Ronnie Chang, who I believe is a friend of Hassan. These
enemies. They just did a tour where it's
they were enemies. That is true.
It's a whole daily show.
Show.
Yeah.
With these guys though, this is where YouTube has changed comedy forever. I remember years ago, say 15 years ago. There was just as many comics out there 15 years ago as there was today, but nobody knew who they were because they didn't have the opportunity to record themselves at a show. Yeah. They didn't have the opportunity to do a podcast.
It's like recording music too, right? Like gear was big and gear was expensive. And now technology is making it easier for us to capture all these great moments.
And you see where the explosion happened. It really peaked during COVID because people ran out of things to consume. So they went to the internet, they went to YouTube, they went to Netflix, they went to all these different places to find new stuff. And they found new meaning through these comedians. And these comedians just went from club comedians to arena comedians. Like it felt like overnight.
Yeah. And artists needed to create. And so without an outlet during COVID, they turned to social media.
And I think too, there was a time years ago where, and maybe it still exists today, but comedy clubs, you had to be part of their comedy club and you could not do
the roster. Yeah.
And that to me is working backwards.
Yeah.
That's working the opposite way, because why wouldn't I want you as a comic to go work on your craft at another club, maybe on the other side of the city, that isn't going to affect my audience in a negative?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're still doing that today, where they say, hey, you played at Yuck Yucks. Pal, you can't be at the Giggle Hut on Thursday.
If you don't evolve, you die. So, you look at a lot of these strong independent comedy clubs that, allow flexibility. You look at Rumors in Winnipeg. You look at the Comic Strip in Edmonton. You look at the Laugh Shop in Calgary. These institutions that are, okay, we don't have a roster, but, we'll just bring in the funniest comedians available, local or touring, and make sure there's a home for them.
And I think the only comedy club that was very rigid like that was Yuck Yucks, and they're the one comedy club that's really declined, right? They were the ones that you would force you to sign up with them and only do their stuff.
They were the only business in town if you go back.
But
to
now
the
they
90s,
they can't. So
they also had a national chain.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Sure, of course. You could tour
compared
across
to
the country.
Rumors in Winnipeg, there's one
off.
And their owners don't own 10 other spots. But I just always looked at it like it was such a negative to hurt the development of the talent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you got to pay rent and you got to sell beer, of course you don't want some competitors to have the same product.
And back to the explosion too, comedy, all of a sudden comics had faces, where pre-COVID, 10 years ago or so, comics didn't have that face just yet, where maybe 10 years ago there was 20 people who could do arenas.
Yeah.
Where today there might be, I don't know, your guess, 80 people
amazing.
who could do arenas now.
Well,
it's
also
unbelievable.
Social media give you that look behind the curtain, right? You get to see what these comedians, these celebrities, these actors are like in a personal way, right? You get to see a peek behind the curtain, and that's really appealing to a lot of people too. So I think that helped draw people out.
Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, greatoutdoorscomedyfestival.com for all the dates, all the comics, more stuff coming. Set up the day for a fan. What should I be expecting? Say I go to one of your festival sites for an afternoon or an evening of comedy.
Well,
get accosted by
a good time.
A forest ranger.
That's right. Well, not accosted, gently patted down.
Papers, digital papers.
Yeah. A good time, right? We try to keep it as positive and friendly as we can, right? We want you to leave the stress at the door, so we will try to facilitate that in any way possible. You show up, somebody's there to help you find your seat, whether it's GA up on the hill or the VIP tables or even the La Tida VIP suites. We get you in, we get you water, we get you fed, get you some merch if you want it, and then you are going to have one of the greatest nights of your life, laughing with 12,000 of your best friends.
Thanks a lot for doing this, Mike Donovan. I really do appreciate it. And we'll definitely come check out one of your shows, or maybe 7.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Easy.
Come on tour with us.
Yeah. No, I'm not busy. Sure. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the shed of dreams.